10. Welcome to another unauthorized and rum-fueled Thursday treasure hunt in the sharky waters around the Gatsby Islands with Gatsby deep diving Queen Raae.
Woohoo!
And we have a lot of pirates today.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try to point right. Yes! AK!
I'm here just for 5 minutes.
Ruler of the chat.
Yes! And
Ruler of the chat.
no, that's wrong. And no, Paul.
I can read your mind. What's going on?
Was that right? Yes. And it is my profound pleasure to give you our guest, the great and powerful Bart Peters.
Yeah.
Woo! Yes. Of Gatsby.
Oh yeah, that's important.
So, and I am Ola, even though it says something else on my name here. Yeah. So, today's tiny task is Deferred Static Generation for unpopular and old videos. Is that right?
I guess the tiny task is just adding defer
Adding
to create
the
pages.
So the tiny task is adding the defer. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have a
Everyone clear.
question. Huh?
Everyone clear on what the task is?
Yeah, good.
Great. Good that you understand it.
Okay, so
we are doing Deferred Static Generation today, DSG.
Yeah, I but first I will ask a question. It's okay with everybody?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's for Vart. And but first maybe first Paul wondered why it's so dark. I can't hear you, Vart. Oh no. Oh. Dark and quiet. Maybe you have to put on the other thing again.
Why is this on 2 cameras today? Oh, now, oh!
I hear something.
We have echo
double,
now.
I think. Let's see.
It's very spooky. Do you have ghosts there?
Goats.
Goats. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Great.
Okay. So I'm at the stable, but it is a little bit too dark where the 3 goats and a horse is. I'll see if I can move everything around here so that you can at least have a glimpse. But I'm not sure how it's going to work. So better to try than not to try.
Can we make him big? Can you do it, Benedicte?
Yeah. Look at that. Now it's like I have Blair Witch Project vibes there.
Is the light going to come on and Ward's just going to be standing in the corner of the stable?
I see something.
Lillian is also wondering why it's so dark.
Oh,
Oh!
there
look!
actually are ghosts. So
Lillian, do you see it?
ghosts.
Come.
Aww.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh. Oh, that was worth it. Look at that.
Har hun den? Eier hun den? Er det
Ja.
hennes sin?
Det er ikke henne, det
They
er
wanna
han
eat
Varp,
my
heter
laptop.
han.
Oh, look
Ja,
at that.
Nei. Njå. Jeg vil kjøpe den av deg.
Lillian wants to buy it.
Kjøpe den.
Not for
Jeg
sale.
får alle pengene mine.
But you can always come over to Belgium and have a look.
Den er ikke til for salgs. Den er ikke for salg.
Is this a tech stream
Hold on.
first? Has anyone else put farm animals on a tech stream before?
Hvorfor er det så mørkt der?
We're breaking new ground.
We're breaking the ground. Like, this is just going to be the rest of the stream, everyone. We're just going to skip all of the coding, and then we're just going to live stream the goats.
En som jobber for Gatsby, William.
Do they have names?
Du må ikke dra i stykker.
Yes, but they are Dutch names. So the small one that's here is Juliette.
Yeah.
And then we have a larger one, but I don't know if I can. That's I don't know if you can see her. That's Jose.
Yeah.
Those two female, and then inside, I think in here, yes, there is the boss, which is Jules.
Oh. Hello, mate.
And they
All right.
and they keep the horse company.
It's a good little crew you've got going on there. I like it.
That's how I get so much done.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Your goat workers.
Yes. And then
Do they
I can
approve?
still-
So do they comment and approve on PRs, or do they? What's their kind of role?
Yeah, they only approve. Like they never
only
decline or
approve,
they never
right.
comment. They can
Good,
only
good, good.
hit one button.
Yeah, they just do squash merge and that's it.
Yeah, and then
I feel like there needs to be an IoT project here where they can actually squash merge. Like,
Well, I made a suggestion to Ward about this a little while ago, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm not really sure I want you like doing stuff to my goats." I was like, "Okay, fine, fair enough. We'll stick to other ideas."
there's also a horse, but I don't know if you can. It's too dark, and
Yeah.
uh,
I love that everyone is still here though, watching the
Yeah.
the animals.
We're seeing a spike, guys.
We're seeing
There's a big
a spike.
spike in viewers.
I wouldn't say spike, but they're not leaving. So maybe you want to ask Ward some questions about Gatsby, Ola, and then we'll head into the coding.
Yes. So, what's the tiny treasure deep down at the bottom of the Gatsby JS V4 treasure trove that is your personal favorite?
well, I have to admit that it is DSG because it basically allows us to scale the gem stack to infinity, whereas before we had like questions about how far can we scale, what's the limit, and all of those things. And now I think with DSG we can scale as far as we can get, and also it just removes the bottleneck of like Gatsby is not for everyone, and now we can remove that. That basically you can build everything you want, especially and as well with SSR, the other rendering mode that we have, but we think you can accomplish everything with DSG and SSG because you really want to have resilience, performance, and security. So
Good one. Can you do a quick? Do you have like a one-liner on what DSG actually is for everyone watching?
rendered at runtime and not at build time only once.
Oh, nicely done.
Oh,
Nicely done.
we put you on the spot there, but you know your stuff, right?
I try
No.
to.
So do you want to run into coding, Ola? Do you have something more prepared?
I have one more question, but don't. Well, you decide.
Well, then I say let's get into the coding because we're going to hit some snags today. So then you have some backup questions for when we are messing around with our package locks and all of that nice stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Then I'm going to share my screen and let's start coding. So what do we need to do to get the deferred static?
I don't
or-
see the screen.
I can't say it. Deferred. I can't even say it now. DSG. I'm just going to say DSG. What do we need to do to get DSG working on an existing site like ours? Do you want to hit it, Paul, or do you?
Oh, right. Sorry, I thought you were asking Ward. Yeah, I can.
No, I mean, if Ward wants to talk me through it, then I mean that's even better.
I think Paul is better prepared, so like.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
Yeah, well, you'd say that. Well, this is now going to test my knowledge of it. But so if we recall back to when we did our page generation, so we're sourcing videos from YouTube. We then used the Roots API to create a page for each and every video that we created. To use DSG, and perhaps I am incorrect and Ward can help me here, we have to switch back to the old create pages method so that we can introduce defer. Is that correct or is that incorrect, Ward?
For now, yes.
Yeah.
But we're planning to introduce it with file system routes too, but we first want to get all the kinks out before we add new functionality.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the file system route API that they're talking about is on my screen now. We're looking at what is deployed for Nattermob.dev at the moment, and we are then using this file system route API or parrot pages that we call them,
Yes.
to generate the pages. But to prepare for this DSG stuff, we realized we needed to, or Paul realized that we needed to move over to create pages. So I have already copy pasted that in to just make sure that it works.
In a very, very first alpha, we had support for it, but we removed it because it was not working as we wanted it to be.
Yeah. So for the folks who have been using Gatsby but never used create pages, instead of using those curly bracket ways of generating pages, you actually use the graph or the data layer. You query all of the nodes that you want to create pages for, and then you create the pages by looping through them and using a template component, and you pass in the information you want to use, like the ID path, and then some context here that Paul has prepared for us.
Yeah, it's probably worth pointing out that uses a new extension point that we've not previously talked about, which was on create on create page. Scroll up a little bit. What's the extension point called? I can't even remember. Create
pages.
Sorry.
Yeah. So then in our Gatsby node file, we have on create node. We create the nodes after calling or what are we doing here?
The
first,
YouTube API.
Yeah, first we are sourcing nodes from the YouTube API. And then on create node, we're doing some magic so we can get the thumbnails properly in as local files. And then what we've added pre-stream today is then create pages, where we create the pages programmatically. And now we're going to make some of these pages deferred.
Yeah.
And that's our tiny task. And how tiny is it?
Very tiny. I don't know where you want to start, but we can perhaps reference the docs, because that has an example of probably the simplest defer strategy. Is that, I'm not sure if I've just made that up, Ward, but it makes sense to me, because maybe we can talk about this a little bit, but it seems to me that defer can be used in a number of ways depending on your use case. So I've in my head just been referring to these as defer strategies. The simple example used in the docs is to just use an index value to determine what page we're creating. And if that index value is greater than 10, don't build the pages, we'll defer them for later.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, if you scroll.
I like defer strategy.
Well, it came up, and sorry, Benedetta, we're going to go off on a tangent here, but it came up because I was talking to another Gatsby enthusiast on Twitter, a chap named Ash, who's also on the South Coast in the UK, like I am, and we were discussing different ways where, you know, if you were, say, in e-commerce, you might want to defer your product pages depending on how popular your products are. It might be in some cases for, you know, a content-heavy site that you could integrate with Google Analytics and determine which are your most popular pages based on page views. We can do a similar thing with the YouTube API because we can get the view count from the videos. And so maybe one defer strategy will be to build only the most popular pages based on the video count, and then we'll defer the rest to be built at runtime.
Yeah, and I was thinking maybe we should check that if they're new, we should probably give them some time, right? So if they're
that's true as
older,
well, yeah.
if they're older than a certain date, like if they're older than a month or something and have a low view count, we could defer. And for our use case, like we don't really need that, right? We have, I don't know, like 20 videos. But let's say we've been at it for like years and years, and we had around 500 videos, 1,000 videos, something like that. It would take a long time to build our whole site every time something changes. And that's when you want to defer the generation of some of the pages. And you want to defer the pages that people aren't really looking at. So you just generate them when when somebody happens to come over that like really old post that you just have there in case somebody clicks an old link or something like that.
We call it a gem text because why pay the price for a very old blog post or something that's hardly being visited? Because the problem with gem text in general is that you have to build all the pages all over again. And with Gatsby Cloud, you have InBuilder, but still there are many scenarios where you have to rebuild the whole site, which is just not possible for large e-commerces, news websites, and so on and so on. So that's why we believe that DSG has so many benefits for Jamstack sites. And I also like the idea of only doing it for most viewed or those kind of things. Because we are thinking as well with Google Cloud, and it's future, where you can hook into your own Google Analytics, and we'll do the heavy lifting for you. That's on the long roadmap. So you don't have to do it yourself, but you can do it manually right now.
Yeah. So we wanted to start with just the example, which is that if it's if it's larger than 10, then if the index of the video is larger than 10, then we defer the generation of the page. So as you can see, I copy pasted from the docs. The tiny task is just defer : and you want to be true for the pages you want to defer and false for the pages you do not want to defer. And that's it, right? There's nothing more we need to do, or
no, that's it.
That's it. Wow. Well, we're done with this stream now. But I guess what I am wondering though is how can we test that this is actually working? How can I check to see if some of my pages are deferred? Do any of you know? This is an open question.
At this moment, when you do a Gatsby build or when you do a Gatsby build, you shouldn't have any HTML files in the public folder.
For those pages?
Yep. So if you open public, they should be empty, or they shouldn't be there.
If I do a build, right?
Yep.
So if
because
we do
Gatsby Develop already did some kind of DSG, which was what's the name again? Query on demand, where basically already did building on demand. So
yeah, that was a very nice upgrade. That made development a lot more fun. So now I'm building, and what we should see then in the public folder is that we should only see, I guess, at the most 10 pages being generated for the videos.
We have a question from the chat.
Yay! Okay.
Would not the most common use case for this be only content that has been changed by a user? Or is that taken care of by Gatsby Cloud's incremental builds?
I was just writing a response to John on that.
Yeah, I have to do some environment variables. So you talk about that, and I fix some environment variables.
I guess if we backtrack just one thing, and I think it was covered in the talks, but John, if you imagine, let's say you have a 5,000 page website, and for whatever reason, your design has changed the logo or the header, which would affect the layout of every single page. Really, regardless of any strategies or popularity, that entire site would need to be rebuilt to ensure that the UI was consistent. The idea behind deferring that is that using a strategy or any other reason, when you make a change that actually affects all of the sites, you're only actually building a subset initially. So when you push that code to Gatsby Cloud, it will just rebuild, your deferred strategy sites. And then the next time users come to visit it, and this is only applicable to the first time, which is where it differs to SSR, Gatsby Cloud will rebuild it and then cache it. And then any following views after that, the page is already built. But what we're doing is kind of deciding based on a number of factors what pages will get built regardless of changes of content, of popularity, all of that sort of stuff. So there's kind of two sides to defer, and I think you do have to consider that any site is going to be in a constant state of maintenance because designs changed or logos changed or whatever, which could impact every single page across a 5,000 page site. Does that answer the question? Was that clear? Quite a long one. Sorry about that.
Ooh. But all of these acronyms get very confusing because I feel like if there's something specific to one user, that is when you would use the SSR generation strategy and not the DSG
Well, you
way
say
of doing things.
that. You say that. I think if anybody has looked through the GitHub REST API docs, which uses the other Jamstack framework, but they use SSR, and what happens is between pages, when you click around on the nav, SSR has to make the request, build the page on the server, and send it back. It doesn't cache it. So if you refresh the site and then replay that journey, you get the same poor experience. And I say poor as in compared to SSG.
Yeah, but if it was
SSR
if you logged in and you wanted some sensitive data about yourself, you don't want to DSG that because then it's
that would
generated
be
with information for everyone who visits that page. While SSG will only be.
But then you do get back into, would a client side request be better anyway? Like why server side?
That's true. That's true.
Data. So really, there's in my head, SSR is kind of like if you want to provide a broadly okay experience to everyone, that's fine. SSG gives the best experience, but you suffer on build times. DSG gives the best experience, and only one time will one user get a okay experience.
And here's a question then from what? How does this impact SEO? Oh, and there he just left. He's like, I don't want to talk about SEO.
That's how. Mic drop.
Do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I mean, I would expect for an existing site that's switching to DSG, you would potentially get a drop off in SEO because depending on when Google then recrawls the sitemap, those older pages might not be there. But as we were discussing with these defer strategies, your SEO to your least common pages aren't important. And if you were to use Google Analytics to determine the DSG strategy,
but I would guess though if Google crawled that page, it would be generated and the data would be available to it because.
But it's only going to have generated the page if it hits it. And then it won't, and Google's web crawlers don't hit the page, so therefore the DSG or the request never happens, and so then
I feel like we are on sketchy ground now.
Well, maybe, but I think if you
do you want to talk about SEO, what? Because you know that stuff.
Well, it is not as easy as it sounds because you have when you look at Google, they have two crawlers. They have one I would call it the curl crawler, which just looks at source files and doesn't care about speed too much. And then you have the, I would say, Lighthouse crawler. It's not 100% technically correct, but it is correct enough. And that's basically crawls if things are fast enough and everything. And technically, that's also not true because they use real user monitoring from Chrome, like the Crux pieces, where they actually measure how good your site speed is. So DSG would still be good enough for your SEO because still content is king, speed is second. So it's all like a whole mumbo jumbo around there. So I wouldn't care too much about SEO when you use DSG. The rule of thumb is when a user visits your site and the experience is great, Google will also mark it as a good experience.
Yeah. What Ward said, that was better than my answer. Go with that. I mean, it's an interesting area, and I think if we just vamp a little bit, it looks like Benedicto's busy. I think what I mean, you've been the lead on DSG, right, Ward? Like this is kind of your invention. You know, what we're effectively looking at in a way is like it's new ground. It's a new thing, right? We've got to flesh this out, work out where the pain points are, and that's only going to come from people adopting it, trying it out, and that will eventually feed back into the engineering team at Gatsby to make the improvements. But I think you've probably, from a beta and whenever you're aiming for that stable release, it's going to be good enough. But it's brand new stuff, you know, like these are the really, really hard problems that Gatsby is solving that no one else is even trying to solve, from what I can see, really.
Yeah, it looks a lot like DPR from Netlify and ISR from Next.js, but technically the main benefit of what Gatsby is doing, because we control the data layer, you never have to go outside of the data layer. So imagine that GitHub goes down or another API goes down with like Next.js or other strategies like SSR, your site will go down. And because we have everything already offline, which has benefits and downsides, because we have to still source everything at build time, means that you still have the resilience and the performance and the security that you're used to with SSG. And there's definitely pain points and there are going to be bugs, I guarantee. But that's why the more we can move people to the beta and tell us about like, hey, this plugin made broke it or something like that, we can make sure that it works, because it's been difficult to make the whole npm ecosystem work with DSG. So
yeah, I can only imagine. But I mean, from the sort of little bit I played around with today, I was like, yeah, this is cool, man. Like I can see how this would be of huge benefit to big sites. I mean, I don't think you're necessarily going to get a benefit from a blog that's got like 20 pages because, you know, Gatsby Cloud's going to handle those builds pretty quickly anyway. But when you're looking at build times that are for 5,000 pages on an e-commerce site, then you really will see the benefits.
Yeah, and it also unlocks a lot of things. And basically, that's a data layer that we decoupled now. So we use LMDB, which is like a file system database. But it unlocks a lot of potential, because if we move it to cloud, you're not just limited to that one container that you get or whatever you want to call it. So it means we can distribute everything. So imagine instead of having 8 cores, having 100 cores and boosting up your page queries and whatever you want to give Gatsby, like see how fast it can get. And that's, I think, where the benefit goes. And then if we go even further into detail, and it's a lot about what I said in my talk at GatsbyConf of Gatsby Camp, was like, what if we even go further, and if you have a header and a footer and only build it once and basically reuse it using some like at site includes like some magic where it gets stitches HTML together and everything, you never have to build your whole website ever again. Even if you change your header, only one fragment needs to change. And that's where a lot of these benefits will come to, where you get a mix of SSG, DSG, and probably SSR. So Jamstack is going to go a whole lot further, and basically Jamstack will not be Jamstack. Like we'll have a really weird mix of every acronym that we can get our hands on.
If we could try and get GOAT into that would be good. If it was the GOAT stack, that'd be good, wouldn't it? Well, yeah. I think it's great.
I'm having some problems on build because it doesn't want to resolve our template path, which I've never had a problem with before.
Oh, crumbs.
Gatsby clean or something, maybe.
Yeah. I did Gatsby clean, and it works in Gatsby develop, and I'm doing Gatsby build, and it says that path is not defined, which I find interesting because it's the same as in the docs. Path resolve, and then I can share my screen again.
Yeah, what have we got? Is this from the PR? Is it in the right templates folder? All of that sort of stuff. It's in source.
Yeah, because it's working in. It's working in.
Is it working
develop.
Dev?
Yeah. So we're suddenly getting this Gatsby node through an error.
Maybe do /source. I don't know if that matters. I don't think so, but.
because looking at the docs, it's the same where it's like source. Create, source template blog posts. And we have the same slashes. Maybe it's just because there's spaces in there. So this is weird because we were trying to build just to show you that not all of the pages are being built. But I guess I can push it up as a pull request, and we can see Gatsby preview failing to show us these pages, and that's our that's our test, right? Okay, I'm gonna go off and you talk amongst yourselves, and I'll make this demoable again.
Okay, we're gonna talk amongst ourselves again. What else? What else is new?
I think we'll add some questions.
It's I have a question for Bart. It's is it something you want to plug?
Of course.
Coincidentally, I have it ready.
Good job. That's the smoothest plug we've had ever. Screen sharing. I mean, practice makes perfect.
It's just a shameless plug because we needed much members on V4, testing it out with real life sites, seeing how DSG behaves when we fix it on cloud, of course. So you can actually tell us what's broken. But then, because we need, like, how fast is it? How can we make it faster? All of those things.
This is the page that tells us how to migrate.
Yes.
And what has changed, because we migrated last week and we didn't really have to change much. We just had to upgrade the packages.
Most of it is tucked away in source plugins. Like that has the biggest changes. And at Gatsby, we asked all our partners, like all the CMSs that we work closely to already do an upgrade, make sure that it works smoothly, so people actually can use it before that we launch. And that's basically because the difficult piece of V4 was like parallel query running and the LMDB, like the new data store. Like there are restrictions that we didn't enforce previously, but we already had them as like not the best practices, so bad practices, and now we have to enforce them because of the new data layer. So, but normally for user it should be smoother than with V3, because with V3 we did the Webpack upgrade, which changed quite some stuff in user land. So.
Yeah. Did you have any more questions, Ola? Or
yes. Oh, I don't think I caught the names of the goats. It was Juliet,
Yes.
Jose, and Joel? No.
Jules.
Jules.
Yes.
Okay.
And the middle is Jose, not Jose, but Jose.
Jose?
Yeah.
So it's not, he's not Mexican. She's not Mexican.
They're all Belgian.
Yeah. Okay, and then also, I have it on my paper here. Yes! Tell us about a thing you did at Gatsby this week.
This week, fixing bugs. So I think the biggest thing that we've done today or this week was with every squad, like we have different teams at Gatsby, like figuring out what we're going to do for Q4. And Q4 is going to be a lot of like making things right, which means just making the user experience better, things that are not as good as they should be, like make them right. Like, for example, the Gatsby preview experience needs some love. We already did a lot of things with the new preview experience, but also when you click on like Contentful, click on Open Preview, that you go to the right page. That's not always happening. So if you're on /blog/x, that you go to that page, and we're going to roll it out for every CMS that works closely for us. And then like things like that, making our hosting environment even better and faster, making DSG and SSR right, like planning where we have to improve, just to make all of your lives easier. So planning.
I see. Do we have any more questions?
I have a question, or maybe it's a topic of conversation. But so DSG is kind of the bit, if we can break this down, it's the bit that's responsible for actually like building the pages based on the data. Is there ever going to be, and I know it's partly up to the source plugins to control this, but like we can defer not building 5,000 pages, but we still have to source 5,000 nodes. And so the data sourcing part is still potentially an issue because that's front loaded, right? I know that's a difficult question. I can see you smirking, but it's come up and it was on my mind as well. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's see if Ward's got some thoughts on it.
Yeah, so we know that it's a problem, but the biggest problem that we see is the image downloading or file downloading. I think that's the biggest pain point right now. Like sourcing is pretty fast if you don't have files. And I think so more or less Q1 probably is going to be like, how can we revamp transformers and sourcing at Gatsby to make it more like work better and smarter. So maybe we like ideas that are floating around. We analyze your queries and then we basically only download what you're actually using, and then maybe in the background we download everything else so that your graphical, those kind of things still work correctly. But yeah, we're thinking about it now. It's still a pain point, but I think the first thing we're going to tackle is the file downloads, so that you can maybe have like an image server on cloud. Going to be trickier on other hosting providers, but they could definitely like do something the same as Gatsby Cloud, where we say like, oh, images, we're just doing it on the fly. You don't have to download them anymore. Those kind of things. Like think about an internal Cloudinary or internal Imagix.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I mean, that has kind of tripped me up on a number of occasions, even on like small sites, just image processing from, using a remote file node, because it's first got to source it, then Sharp's got to do its thing, then it's got to end up in the data layer, then you can query it. And that, I can imagine if you had, well, you probably saw it on the, what was that big Shopify demo you guys did that not that long ago? It was like, was it 10,000 products or 10,000 images or something like that?
I think it was 100,000 images, I think. But they were duplicates, so it could be around 10,000, yes.
I mean, how long would a build like that typically take to process 10,000 images?
Well, we were surprised basically because they were already optimized and not super big. I think the build took about 10 to 20 minutes. So it's not too bad, but it's also only on cloud. Like locally, you would be in a lot of pain. But
at least I'm in pain now. My computer is like slowing down as we're speaking, but that's just like my internet and everything is it's insane. The problems I'm having now.
What are you doing, Benedicte? Because we're kind of like, we're just hanging out over here. I mean, it's lovely talking to Ward, but like, have you got something in mind for us?
When he's on, why not like talk to him?
Yes, yeah. Well, I've got 1,000 questions, so
Well, I can share that the problem was that I hadn't imported the module that was needed, and that worked in develop, but it did not work in build.
We've all been there. What were you missing? Path? You hadn't imported path?
Yes, I hadn't imported path. In my head, like I've done that actually before as well, because it just feels like it should be there, right? It's like something you use so often that it's just like, I don't know, it should like window in the browser, But anyway, I have now fixed that, but my computer is having problems just building. So I pushed it up. So let's see. Now we got it going. Let me share.
Drum roll.
So I think if we have a look over in our public folder, like you said, We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 videos pre-built or
Yeah.
statically generated, and then
10
the rest
pages.
will be deferred. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
And now if you would open your Gatsby serve and you go to those pages, locally they should work. Going to talk with two words here. Should work.
Oh, I can confirm they do not work locally. I'm running it.
I'm running it, but my computer is, as you can see, everyone. I mean, we need to start having donations because, like, if we're going to keep on streaming, I need a computer. Huh?
It's the Y button.
Why?
The yes button.
Oh, yeah, the yes button. Oh, I see. But I was saying that I'm just going to click on it like I usually do. I need a new computer. So somewhat we are hitting our YouTube quotas or something, so we're having problem with the thumbnails as well. But some of these older ones then should be deferred, and they break.
Oh no!
So this kind of, well, now everything breaks. So let's have a look. Yeah. So this is a newer video. It has been server-side generated, and then the older
Break.
pages are not server-side generated. They will be deferred. I mean, not statically. Oh my god, I can't.
They would be
get the
deferred.
acronyms right. They would be deferred. I'm just gonna say.
Yeah.
But at least Gatsby promised on its speed, right? Like this is the fastest website you can get. Like the fastest page.
This is the fastest.
So, okay, so just for me, I have my question then is, so it's not working now when you're doing this locally, but if you do it for real, it will work.
When we GA, it would work.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
No, so I think that the plan is to have like another version out probably tomorrow, like another beta where hopefully most of this is fixed.
Yeah.
Worst case on Monday, but
yeah. But I think we got the point across that we can defer this generation of pages. So now we only generate 10 of them on build, right? Instead of taking all of them. And then our ID, which I don't think we're going to go into now then, because my computer's just been like, while trying these things out, is that instead of just using the index, we would then say, is this an old page? Yes. If it's an old and unpopular page, we want to defer. Like that would be a good case or a good way of solving this for our type of site.
Yep. Yeah. Because what we've heard for other solutions were, for example, when you have like an how it's called, like a real estate website where you sell houses, like you want to have the sold houses as well, but they're not as important, so you would make them DSG or deferred on when they're sold. And then on gatsby.com, for example, we're gonna defer all the starters and all the plugins. Maybe some official ones are more popular. We're gonna keep them at build time. And then very old blog posts, we will, like after page 3, we're probably gonna defer them as well.
Yeah, I'd like to dig deeper into these rendering strategies, deferred static, whatever we're going to call them, defer strategies.
So John asked if it was the Gatsby clean. Yes, I did the Gatsby clean so that this would be all empty. The Gatsby pub. So when you do Gatsby clean, it kind of deletes your public folder and your cache folder. And then I did an Gatsby build, and that built all of the pages that should be generated on build time, and that's these 10 videos, and then the rest are not build, and they're supposed to be build when you hit that page, but that doesn't work in the locally served, and it doesn't work in the preview, but it's supposed to work in the Gatsby cloud proper, right?
Should be, yes.
But I mean, we are in beta land, so these are the things that should be fixed before it's actually released as the latest version and not the next version, right?
Yep. And yeah, it depends maybe on like if you have a different source plugin, or maybe you did something like a different JavaScript package, it could still work. Like there's so many ways that like DSG could break at this moment, that we are still figuring out all the edge cases, and this is definitely one.
It's entirely possible. It's something that we've done when we're sourcing these YouTube videos. It could be something to do with the way we're creating the pages. It could be something to do with the way we're sourcing the nodes. Like, this is open source, Ward. So if you want to dig through our code, you can use it as a case study.
Yeah.
If you want to help us fix it, that'd be great. You know.
It's a relatively small site, so it's good to test things on. So definitely we'll look at it.
Yeah. And yes, we are on the latest version of Node. But let's see if there's any breakage in our console log. Yeah, there's a problem in the YouTube template of reading ID. So there's something where it doesn't want to generate this on runtime.
Yeah, I mean, we're using a default page query that uses the ID be at the bottom of the GraphQL query.
So it's not getting the ID when we are. Seems like it's not getting the ID when we are deferring.
But if you were to use the same ID, it would be in graphical. You'd be able to see it in the data layer. So it is there. It's just not a page. I love this live debugging. Look at Ward; he's deep in thought. I love it.
Yeah,
on his phone as well. What a legend!
Yeah, the funny thing is like where the goats and the horses, like we are building a house in front, but we're not living there. So I'm now just in the car to have some lighting, and be on the stream. So to debug this, like. I imagine that on Gatsby Node, we share the ID like as page context.
Yes, it should be in there, page context. Although, no, it is there. The ID is in.
Yeah, because those other builds would fail.
Yeah, the path gets passed into page context, but the ID and the slug are part.
But should the ID be in the context as well?
Oh yes, it should be in the context as well. Because that's what file system routes, they give you the ID by default.
Yeah.
But with Great Pages, you have to add everything in context. So technically, the ID on line 129 does nothing.
So if we move that into context, that would work, would it?
Oh, I'm just chatting as well. Okay, so I'm going to remove I'm going to remove 129 and then add it here and 133.
Yep, that should work.
Yeah, and then we can all watch my computer try to build this. If anyone out there want to send me a beautiful new computer that is faster, I'm not saying no. We could do more fun streams then.
Preferably a MacBook M1.
Oh, well, I have to get my Funk Jam entry in if I'm going to try to win one of those.
Yeah, you're running out of time, Benedicte. The deadline's tonight,
I know.
I think, isn't it?
I know, but I feel like my obligations to our co-working and our streams were higher than the Funk Jam.
Right, do we want a spoiler about whether moving that ID works or not? Because I have the answer.
Has it already built on your computer?
Yeah, of course it has.
We want to wait.
Oh my. Do I have to win the competition? Can't just somebody give me a computer? I mean, this is ridiculous.
So, then I can ask AK a question.
I need to go.
AK's like,
I'm so
bye.
Ill. Look at me.
Yeah. So
I missed you all.
You're back in the USSR. I mean the UK, right?
Yes, I'm back in the UK.
Yeah,
Gosh,
because I
yes.
can tell by the wall that you're
Just about-
stars.
I know. This is
Yeah.
my boring room. This is not my Polish rooms. Yeah, I'm back in the UK. Just about had enough petrol to get from the airport to my house, so all good.
You came today?
No, I came on Monday night, I think. But yeah, haven't really been able to get any petrol since.
But did you stay with family?
I did. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Yes, I stayed with my family for
Don't
nearly a month
say
and a half.
anything. Don't say anything you regret. Okay, it's okay to lie on stream. It's totally fine.
Okay, gosh, I didn't know that. Okay, yeah, I was in Poland for a month and a half, which is why I missed most of these streams. And I'm going to be unavailable next week, unfortunately, but maybe I'll come back later.
Are you going back to your trips?
No,
You
I'm going to my office, actually.
To your
yeah,
to your what?
office.
To the office.
Oh,
Like to actually work with people.
yeah.
I'm probably not going to get a lot done, but just because everyone's going to be there. But yeah, like physically work with people. You know how it used to be.
Because AK works at The Economist, and
Yes,
Ward should
and we are
probably try
hiring
to
like mad.
sell Gatsby to them.
Yeah. No, we're hiring like mad. So if anyone fancies a new adventure, hit me up.
Ooh.
Mm.
Okay, I think we're ready for Paul's spoiler alerts soon, because I don't think this
Yeah.
computer is just gonna like catch on fire soon or something.
Well, let me know when you're ready. I can spoil
Oh,
it.
now see, it didn't like me teasing it. Like now something happened.
Yeah. And people say computers don't have emotions.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah. But just me, Ola, I think we promised what we should be done by the on the top of the hour. So if you need to leave,
I said 40 minutes.
yeah, because we're trying to do these shorter, but with this computer, it's not going to be shorter, right? So,
It's
but
fine. I'm cozy in my car, so.
you go in your car. I've actually heard that cars are really good for podcast, like if you have a podcast or something like that. It's like a good place to record a podcast. Mm-hmm.
I would believe it. I would believe it. So my training buddy, he's an audio engineer, and he actually helped design the Opera House acoustics here in Oslo. And he said that so it depends on what kind of seats your car have. If they have the same body mass index as a real body, then they would also work in the opera, so that your car seat could be there instead of a real person, and then the acoustics will be just as good, no matter how many people are in the thing. Because you need to have the
Did you see that, folks?
Whoa!
That is a deferred page, but it's so quick.
Hey, there we go.
Do you want to know why?
Yes, I want to know why.
Because you're using Gatsby link, and a lot of things are being preloaded. So when you hover over, or when it comes in screen, we basically already kick off the build, like the build for the page.
Oh,
Look at Paul and me being nerds. It's like,
we still have to make it a little bit smarter, because now it's doing things too eagerly, and it's very expensive for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it's just well, when you have like an index page like this, you basically pre-fetch 10 to 15 pages, which like if you can imagine, if you have a large site with lots of users, 15 times, I don't know how many times, if they have different section pages, becomes very like taxing on servers and everything.
But now I have just an idea here at the end. So if I look at these in the Finder, will they have different times on them, or don't they get?
No. So the thing
added?
is with Serve yet is that we don't save it to disk. So on Cloud, we basically, but here not. And maybe we should do it to just show that DSG, like showing that how DSG actually works. Because now you might get the intention that it is SSR, while
Mhm.
technically it's not.
Yeah, because that could be it. Because then you could actually see. Then you could have seen it here. Like, okay,
Yeah.
this one, L-D or whatever, that it has an later date. But at least we can see that it's not here. So it's not ready-made for us. It was made when we clicked that link, or before
Yeah.
we clicked that link. Just you told us.
But good idea. Like, we'll make that happen. That serve also writes to disk.
No. If you do that, I will feel so happy if that was my idea.
I'll add a comment in the code.
Yes.
Put a little queen emoji. I can also
little queen.
confirm. I can also confirm this works deployed to cloud as well. There's a link in the private chat, Benedicte, if you want to demo that just for completeness.
Let's see, and then we'll have a summary and our outros. Yeah. So this is a regular site. Or a statically generated one, and then here's a deferred one. So
Hey, there we go.
oh my god, this is amazing. Anyone have any questions in the chat while we still have time? I mean, Nico is very much into this.
Good old Nico.
Look at those hands.
That's a lot.
And he's going to ask if they're still prefetched, and they are. Great. So am I supposed to do the summary now? Now I'm so tired. I don't remember like our what's it called? Our outline for the show.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
I am super happy that this worked.
I'm so happy you stayed on and helped us fix that.
And the goats.
And the goats. I mean, love the goats. So
I have to make a clip tomorrow, and I'll send it over so you can use it on your next stream.
Oh, we can. We should just always start the show with some goat footage from work. Anyway, summary time, AK timestamp this so we know when the summary is happening. 56:45. Anyway, the summary is that today we have been looking at deferred static generation, and to make it happen, you have to do a tiny task, and that is adding defer and when you want defer to be true in your create page function, or when you're calling the create page function. And that's it for the summary. Over to you, Ola.
There is a question in the in the chat.
Has anyone played with Guest.js and DSG? I have no idea what Guest.js is. Do you know what?
Yeah, it's a tool I think that Google created. I don't know, that takes analytics data, and beforehand you could use it with Gatsby to like smart prefetch links. So basically, when you go to a web page, it would use Google Analytics data and then look at all the links on your page and see, okay, these are highly visited, so we're going to prefetch them instead of like doing the default Gatsby way. So what Guest.js with DSG could mean is just using Google Analytics to make your most viewed pages deferred or not.
And then we have
Guest.js is just an easy implementation to hook up Google Analytics.
Yeah. And then we have a great question from John, which is, Gatsby does so much, can it wash my dishes?
Not yet, maybe in the future.
That'd be version 5. That'd be the big release.
I think it should be like Q2 next year. I would like that. I'm just gonna put that order
now
in.
in your dishwasher. Powered by Gatsby.
Powered by Gatsby. Okay.
There is
and
one
Ines
more
says,
question.
will Gatsby be part of Hacktoberfest?
This year we're gonna skip, sadly, because we really want to get Gatsby v4 ready, and we love our community, but it's also very difficult to keep up with all the demands and PR the table creates. So this year we're gonna skip, but then next year we'll be there 10 times better than this year. or last year.
Okay. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that you can't like head on over and work on an issue, but there won't be any Hacktoberfest specific events or initiatives, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for the questions, everyone.
Yes. Write them down during the week so we have them ready. So, this has been another unauthorized and rum-fueled Thursday treasure hunt in the sharky waters around the Gatsby Islands with deep diving Queen Raae and her pirates. And next week, we'll be having another guest. And yeah, it's a total secret. Okay?
Ooh.
Wave awkwardly.